Hello, everyone. We're going to ask everyone to mute their phones or their computers until the question and answer portion begins. You can also ask questions via the chat in Zoom, and we'll try to get those answered as soon as possible. So, thank you guys for joining us. We're just giving everyone time to come in, and we hopefully will get started promptly at 7 o'clock.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
How's everybody doing?
Pretty good. I've asked everybody to mute their screens until the question and answer portion, but people can also submit questions via the chat.
Hey, Danny.
Hey, hey, I can see you now. How are you, Gina?
How are you? Hi,
Good.
everyone.
We're giving people a few moments just to log in and check in. So hopefully we can get started shortly. Okay, in the interest of time, I'm going to get started. Check all the people in as they come in, but I think it's good for us to kind of get started. Do you agree?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, so hello everybody. My name is Danielle Sanders. I am the interim managing director for the Chicago Defender and will be moderating this event. We are asking everyone, if you are not speaking at the moment, please mute your lines. There will be time for Q&A after we're finished. addition, you can submit your questions for any of our panelists in the chat screen on Zoom. So before we begin, I wanted to introduce the people who will be joining us for this important discussion about what's happening in our community. So, Chuck, can you give us an introduction? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself
Absolutely. So good evening,
before we
everybody.
begin?
Yes, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this panel discussion about something that is currently plaguing our neighborhoods. For those of you who know me socially, I go by Chuck P, but professionally, my name is Larry Gavin. I am currently working as one of the assistant executive directors in the Cook County Sheriff's Office, where I've worked for 26 years now. Disclaimer, I am not representing the sheriff or his interests during this panel discussion. What I am sharing with you what I think as a citizen of Cook County, not as a representative of the sheriff's office. So any ideas, any things that I spew are coming from me. I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. My master's is in information systems and technology management, and I am currently a doctoral candidate for education and performance improvement leadership. So I am looking very forward to delving into and having a discussion with my fellow citizens about this issue, which is top of mind with most of us. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Should I call you Chuck or Larry? I'm so used to calling you Chuck.
No, Chuck works. Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have Dr. Regina Beeman. Can you unmute yourself and just give us a little background?
Yes, my name is Regina Beeman, Dr. Regina Beeman. I have been working with the city for a little over 20 years. I am currently part of Public Service Administration, which has, as of last year, merged with CPD, CFD, and OMC. I am an accountant. I have my undergrad in accounting, my master's, and my doctorate in business management. Let me see. I'm here just as a concerned citizen to offer some information that I've come across regarding some carjackings.
Uh-oh. Gina, did we lose you? Can you unmute yourself? I think we muted you by accident. There you go.
Oh, so you didn't hear anything I said?
We lost a couple of minutes, so I'm so sorry.
Okay, my name is Dr. Regina Beeman. I work for the city, been with the city for a little over 20 years. I am part of the new department, Public Safety Administration, which is combined with CPD, CFD, and OEMC. I am an accountant. I'm here to offer some information that I've obtained about some carjackings. And I'm also here just as a concerned citizen to learn how to protect myself or offer any type of information that I have and can gain as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So just to kind of give everyone an overview of how we're going to um, approach this discussion, this is kind of our agenda for the evening. We're going to cover some basics about just carjacking in general, who are the primary targets, common scenarios, and then ways to protect yourself from a potential carjacking, in addition to things to do if you are actually carjacked. So I'm here to facilitate the discussion. If you have questions, we can definitely hopefully get them answered. And really, it's about having a discussion about what we can do individually and as a community to address this crisis. As many of you know, there have been about 180 carjackings in less than 30 days. This is just the month of January, and it's happening all across the city and suburbs. So at this point, we all really need to be on high alert. So I'm going to turn it over to Chuck until you need me to come back. So we'll just come with a couple of carjacking facts.
Mhm. Thank you. So, as you can see from what first of all, I want to thank Danny Sanders for agreeing to moderate this for me. um, as she stated in the group, this was kind of my vision, but I needed that media professional, because I just think this is so important. And I think the presentation and keeping us on task and on scope is very important. And having said that, let me just start off by saying this is not a referendum about what the police isn't doing or what they could be doing. This is about the citizens. This is about us. This is about how do we do everything we can to be safe, during this time while these carjackings are taking place. I think that the referendum on police strategies and things of that nature, I just think that's a different discussion. But I think for this discussion, if we can keep it on task and on scope and just speak specifically to the things that are affecting us directly and what we can do as a community to keep ourselves safe, I think that's where we should steer the discussion. So having said that, let's walk through some of these bullet points. So carjackings, it seems to be a crime of convenience right now. At one point it was snatching the iPhones because the stores were taking the iPhones and these guys were getting $150 per iPhone. The day of the $1 million drug dealer is almost null because the feds are involved now. So these guys are setting up on the streets, and between the federal agencies, the DEA, the FBI, Chicago police, the counterterrorism, all these agencies are intertwined all the way even up to the sheriff's department, state police. So these guys don't have that main financial mechanism that they used to have. You may see a ton of drug dealing, but you don't have a ton of those heads of the snake, so to speak. So those low-level street dealers are finding more exotic ways to generate that fast money for themselves, if you will. So carjacking has gotten extremely popular for a lot of different reasons. So let's look at some of these. Most carjackings occur in high crime areas, but are also increasingly happening in the safer, wealthier parts of town too. That is a very good point because we're seeing carjackings in Streeterville, Lincoln Park. They're not uptown. I was getting near North Lincoln Park. We're seeing them in areas not just in Inglewood and on the west side of Chicago and on the south side, but we're also seeing them downtown, the West Town, West Loop, South Loop. So clearly, when you look at that heat map that I shared in the discussion area of the event section, if you put your cursor over the heat map, you really can't even get a feel for a pattern. And that was the thing that was very surprising to me, because what that is showing us is that this is extremely random, everybody. And that's the danger of it in my mind. We're talking about children. I looked at some data. Most of these people that we are catching are between 15 and 21. That's the demographic of the people who are being caught. We just got the fourth suspect. Danny has this picture of, this is the fireman who was savagely murdered by the four perpetrators in that picture. In that picture, you have an 18, a 19, a 15-year-old, and another 18-year-old. None of them are even 21 years old. I mean, so this is what we're up against as a community. These are crimes out of conveniences. And what they're doing is they're taking these vehicles and they're joyriding. Some of them, they're just joyriding. Some of them are using them to commit other crimes. There is a small sect, what I've been told, of cars that are being sold kind of on the black market, but that's not the main reason for all the carjackings. And so, that when I try to create something where I could give you and say, look, you want to be away from here on this day around this time, it's really just all over the place. I mean, it's in the suburbs. They just carjacked I'm in Country Club Hills. They just carjacked someone out here in Oak Forest. I mean, and it's early in the morning, it's in the afternoon, it's in the evening. I'm going to run through the rest of these bullet points, and then I want to give the other panelists an opportunity to respond to these first set of facts here. So again, it says carjackings are up all across the county. They typically strike when the person is getting into their vehicle. What we're finding is 92% of carjackings are happening when the victim is alone in the car. And that is telling, because these guys want to get in, they want to get out. They're not looking to have a confrontation. And I'm going to circle back on that confrontation piece as we delve a little bit deeper into this. 90% of carjackings involve the use of a weapon, typically a firearm. So that means 9 times out of 10, if God forbid, but 9 times out of 10, if we're going to be the victim of a carjacking, we're going to be looking at the barrel of a weapon. As sad as that is to say, but that's where we are, because these crimes again are what I'm calling a crime of convenience. Carjackers generally are under the age of 21. Well, I just told you the ages of those 4 perpetrators there. None of them are 20 years old. And one of them is 15. And the shooter, the one that we believe was that fired the fatal shot, he's the one we just caught. He's only 18 years old. Groups of carjackers tend to travel in pairs or fours and are typically canvassing individuals for opportunities. They are also typically in cars. So what we're finding is these guys are traveling together in one vehicle to get another vehicle, and they're in the alleys, they're in parking lots, they're downtown, and they are very brazen. So I've seen a video where they're carjacking people at a red light during rush hour. I mean, they have reached a point of no return with this. I mean, they have a very high resolve, which to me makes the acuity of these crimes just that much more dangerous, because these guys are committed. And so those are some of the things that I wanted to bring up. And I'm going to pause and let the other panelists jump in now. Dr. Beeman, if you will.
Today we were having a discussion at work about conceal and carry. And one of my coworkers stated that, even if you can react, when you're looking at a kid that's 10 years old that's carjacking you, you're going to be hesitant about shooting them. So it's like you just give up. And this entire thing has freaked me out personally. Like, I have changed the way that I have traveled. I do not carry anything personal. My work bag is very minimal. I do not carry my work laptop. I do not carry any credit cards. Like my supervisor was saying, she now carries a fanny pack. But in one of the videos, I see that they're patting you down to try to take whatever it is that you have. So it's like, you just never know. This has gotten completely out of hand, and I really don't know what to do and say. I'm terrified of driving at this point.
Well, I think one of the things that we hope to accomplish with this discussion is just trying to give everybody the facts. We're not trying to scare you, but we do want everyone to be aware. And there are some very practical things that we can all do when we're driving. Not saying that it's going to completely eliminate the possibility, but there are some things we can do to help keep us safer. In addition, there are a lot of community groups who are gathering together now at certain hotspots like gas stations to offer additional security and things of that nature. But, obviously this isn't something that we're going to solve overnight, but the point is to give everybody information and tools that they can use going forward.
With that being said, I found that with car insurance, that if you do not have comprehensive coverage, that your car may not be covered. Um, so you need to check with your insurance company, call your insurance agent to find out if you have that comprehensive coverage.
Yeah, that's a great point, because if you don't have the extended liability, if you just have what they call general liability, your vehicle won't be covered for something of this magnitude, which is a shame. But that you would need that expanded liability insurance, not just general liability, and that is a shame. So as we look at primary targets, Danny has moved the presentation here, and and this is for me, being growing up in a single family household where it was just my mom, and looking at this, it just is so startling. It just jumps off the page. It's astonishing. But the primary targets and crimes of convenience are the most vulnerable of our society, right? Because the guys, again, they want to get in, they want to get out. They're not looking to have this 2-minute exchange. They want to use fear and force. So with that being said, the primary targets are women. They're the elderly, people traveling alone. And one of the biggest ones, distracted drivers. I can't say enough about staying off of that phone while you're at a red light, or while you pulled over waiting on a friend to come down that you picking up from work, or for school, or to go somewhere, or whatever the case may be. Turning off your engine in these gas stations, picking a busy gas station at a high usage time, where you're not finding yourself looking for gas at 7 in the evening at a place that don't serve but 2 or 3 cars at a time. You make yourself safe by doing safe measures, and I know that for some people it's a little off-putting, because in theory we should have the recognizance, and we should have the safety and security built in with those who are sworn to protect us. But when we hold these, even formally, when the sheriff holds these town hall meetings with the staff, with the citizens in a particular township or city, one of the things that he always presses upon people is educating yourself. You cannot look up and read up on this stuff enough. One of the things that we're finding is they're doing what we call the cutoff. So you pull up to a stop sign, they're going to pull around you, cut you off so you can't drive forward, and then they're going to jump out with the weapons out, right? That's just like a shock and awe. So, how do you prevent that from happening? Well, one way you do, pull up closer to the stop sign. Don't leave that much space in between yourself, where if he's going to pull up and cut you off, if you're going to do the cutoff, make him almost have to be in the intersection. You know what I mean? So don't just stop at the tip of the crosswalk. And I know, it's the lesser of the evil. I would rather have a ticket from CPD because I'm stopped in the middle of the crosswalk than to do it the way we're supposed to do it, only to be cut off by one of these thugs and have them jump out on me. So I think that's extremely important. One of the other things that we're finding in these last few is that they're starting to be a little bit more violent. In Calumet Heights today, or not today, but I think it was last night or the day before, they jumped on one of the, they didn't just take his car, but they beat the elderly man up. Mm-hmm. And so what that is telling me is that these guys are trying to up the ante because they need to reinstill that fear. We had a young man, 15 years old, who was fatally wounded in Lansing trying to jack a car. His other friends ran into that Walmart, Old Torrance, and the police caught the other suspects, but the one that perished was only 15 years old. And if you go to his Facebook, which I did today at work, it just breaks your heart, because this is a 15-year-old boy. He's got a 6-hour 9mm or 45. He pointed at you on his Facebook account. You look at the videos. He is a byproduct of of a criminalistic society, and he was down for the jacket. I mean that he he reveled in it, and it's the saddest thing you ever want to see. But this is our reality, and this is what we're up against. And these are people who are committed, and I can't stress that enough, because this is not someone who just wants to do it if nobody is looking, right? They tried to take that car off of Torrance Avenue. And if you've ever been out that way in Torrance or Lansing at that gas station, I mean, it's a main thoroughfare. It's never empty. So, I mean, these carjackings really got my attention, and that one in particular, I bring that one to bear because that just shows the level of conviction that these offenders are willing to go to in order to take these vehicles. I'm going to pause there. Danny, don't change this what you call it, but I want to let Dr. Beeman come in. Dr. Beeman come in.
Sorry, my dog is in the way. No, I agree. It's just you have to be mindful of your surroundings, and it's just tough. You could continue. Stop.
It's extremely emotional. And I again I really appreciate you, Dr. Beeman, wanting to be one of the panelists, because I asked a couple of my fraternity brothers who are CPD, and they really just they see it every day, and they just honestly don't want to talk about it, and I respect anyone's position, but I just think we need to create a vessel that allows people to vent, to talk about how they feel, to get educated, and to ask the tough questions. So we Danny put up a few scenarios. So I think I just brought when the victim is stopped at a red light, and oftentimes, you have to you got to be thinking. We always talk about head on a swivel. Make sure you're not being followed, because I believe, and I have not read the court excerpts from the firemen, but the way they swooped on him, I believe they were following him. I don't believe that was random, like they just happened to catch him coming out of the popcorn shop, and then they just swooped down. I don't think it was like that. I think he was being followed, because as soon as he came out of the popcorn shop, boom, they swooped right down. They weren't just the luckiest jackers in the world. He was being followed and tailed. So
yeah, that's what I actually heard, was that they had been following him, and he wasn't, I guess he really wasn't paying attention. As soon as they came out, bam, they went and got him. But I also heard that that's what happened with the police officer that just got carjacked as well. I don't know if you all heard about it, but she got carjacked by 4 young men.
Well, they talk about the fact that most of us are creatures of routine, quite frankly. I leave the house to go to work at a certain time every day. I go the same route. I go to the same gas station. These are things that I kind of do. And they're telling us we need to switch it up. You need to switch up your regular routine, because you don't know if people are watching you, and how many of us are completely conscious of everyone we're looking at when we're going to the gas station, when we're leaving our house. Sometimes you're going to have to switch up your route. Do you go to the same gas? Do you just go to the grocery store at the same time on the same day? Do you go on a Saturday? Things like that. These are small ways, because you do not know if they're watching you. And typically they've been saying that these individuals have been watching potential victims and trying to find out what their routines are to find out the best time for them to strike. So I'd rather err on the side of caution.
And I call it not being route predictable. I'm sorry. I call it not being route predictable. And choosing different routes to get where you're going to go. And the other piece, if I'll add on, and I'll let Dr. Beeman get back in, is everybody should know where you're getting ready to go, right? Because what happens is if you have children and they have friends who are on the surface, they seem to be kind of nice, but then at the same time, their cousin is, this, that, or the third. And then now everybody knows that on Tuesday, that's your Sam's Club day or your Walmart day or whatever the case may be. And so they're not the ones that'll do it, but they'll say, hey, she's driving a Jeep and every Tuesday she goes to Walmart. We have to insulate ourselves from being victimized by our own sharing of information. And that's a critical piece. If you take nothing else away from here, you learn to make yourself safe by insulating yourself, by closing off your information, only giving it to the people who really need to have it, right? And slow some of that external knowledge of your whereabouts down. I'm sorry, Dr. Beeman, you were getting ready to say something.
Also, my insurance agent was telling me about one of his clients that was actually at the ATM. And as she was making her transaction, she noticed the car behind her and the guys had on face masks. So she hurried up with her transactions. And then as she was driving off, she noticed that they never stopped at the ATM. They just continued to follow her. So she kept driving, and unbeknownst to them, she was an off-duty police officer. So when they came out, she came out too.
So that's an excellent segue. If you realize you're being followed, get on your phone, call 911 and keep driving, because they're going to find you. So it doesn't matter that you're crossing municipality. Let's say you're going westbound on 79th Street, you're in Chicago, you dial 911 and you get Chicago PD, but by the time you get to Cicero, now you're in Burbank. That's okay. CPD knows how to make sure Burbank knows to find you. Keep driving, keep your head on the swivel, and stay on the phone with emergency personnel. That's a 911 issue. That's not a 311. You want to call 911, tell them you believe you're being followed, and you continue to speak to the operator. My wife had a scenario a couple of years back where she had a white Range Rover and she suspected that some cars were following her on the expressway. And she was getting ready to go to the grocery store and she saw them in the grocery store. And when she pulled off from the grocery store, they were still following her, and she called me. But I was like, hey, hang up from me, call 911, And so at some point, they ended up pulling away from her because I think they had realized she had gotten hip to them, whatever it is they were trying to do, even if it was just trying to get her attention or what have you. But the point of emphasis is get on that phone of yours and call 911.
Chuck, we have one question. Chuck, can you hear me?
Yes.
We have one question in the chat, and I actually think it's pretty relevant. What's happened in the news? Everyone has talked about the last carjacking where the potential victim actually shot and killed the carjacker. So one of the questions is, people are arming themselves. Is that advisable?
So I am, and this is Chuck speaking. This is not Assistant Executive Director Larry Gavin speaking. I'm not speaking on the behest of the sheriff. I am absolutely a fan of responsible gun ownership, but this is where it gets tricky for me. If the fireman just gives him his Jeep, he's probably still here. He got shot in the stomach because he shot back. He had a revolver, a 6-shooter. They had semi-automatic weapons. You really, really, really got to understand how critical it is and how much thinking has to take place in that split second, because once they see your weapon, they're going to start shooting. And you got to understand that. Now, in the scenario with the fireman, there were 2 shooters. He had 2 different people shooting at him. He only had 6 shots in his weapon. We have the luxury of playing Monday morning quarterback in his scenario. But if you ask Chuck, would I have pulled my gun? No. They had him. When he stepped out of that popcorn shop, them dudes jumped out so fast. One took the front, one took the back. Look at that video again. They were organized and they were ready. One came at him from the front. The other guy was coming around the back. Both of them had weapons. They had him. He give up that Jeep. He's here today. You just give it to him. So I am all for responsible gun ownership, but you should be thinking about protecting yourself, not your car. Does that make any sense? When I carry my weapon, it is when I carry my weapon off duty, it is to protect my person and the people who I am with from being killed or great bodily harm. It's not for protecting what I'm driving, because I'm not interested in that. If you get the ups on me, you can have it. If I see it coming and I can reverse the ups and get it on you, then so be it. But I don't want to get into a gunfire exchange over a vehicle. I don't. You can have it. I took my checkbook out of there. I don't have anything in there with my address on it. You can have it. Everything that's in there is replaceable, but my life is not. I don't want to get into a gunfight over a vehicle. I want to get into a gunfight when you're trying to rob my person. And I think my only way out of this is going to be to try to shoot. But to say that everyone has to do what they think is best, but to say that you should carry a gun to protect your car, I'm just not in agreement with that. I hope that answers.
That actually does. If we could talk about a couple of the other scenarios, because I know we've spoken about being at a stoplight, we've talked about getting in parking garages and going shopping, but there are some other things that carjackers are doing, pretending to
What?
be stranded,
Mm-hmm.
faking an accident, acting. They're even saying to beware of giving. You know how you have people who are begging on corners. They're saying to beware of rolling down your window to give somebody some change, because all of these things could be a potential setup. Chuck, can you speak to some of those scenarios?
So the one that's the scariest for me is the one that bumps you, because what is what is the first thing we get bumped? Boom. Like, oh man, what the heck is going on? Put the car, you going over to the curb because you thinking in your mind you finna jump out and get their information, exchange information, make sure your car ain't damaged. But you got to be thinking. You get bumped. You look in that rear view mirror. First thing you do, boom. You look up, see who's in there behind you. It's 3 or 4 guys behind you. Keep going. Call 911 and keep going. If it's a legitimate accident, so be it. The city is littered with cameras. They'll find the person. But what you don't want to do is be in a scenario where you're by yourself. You got to look at all of the variables. And remember, if you have no other takeaway from this discussion, this is a crime of convenience. And what I mean by that is the offenders want to be the ones with holding all the cards. So if it's you and 3 other people in your vehicle, you're probably not going to get bumped. You're probably not going to get cut off and all of that. But when you're driving by yourself and then somebody bumps you, boom, you look up in that rear view mirror. That's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to look in that rear view mirror. I see 2 or 3 subjects in that car behind me. I'm not pulling over. I'm going to keep driving, and I'm going to call 911 on my cell phone. I'm going to keep driving. I was just involved in a vehicle accident where I was just hit from the rear, but there are 3 or 4 subjects in the car, and I'm not sure if they're up to any type of mischief. Can I get a car to meet me? Well, where are you? I'm going eastbound on 79th Street. I'm near King Drive. Keep driving. Stay on the phone with that 911 operator. She's going to dispatch a squad car to cut all you all off and meet you somewhere. To me, that's the one that's the scariest, because it's so easy for us to just jump right out after somebody bumps us. The stranded one is one that I really worry about with a lot of people. Some years back, there was a couple on I-57. I used to see them every day, right before you get to Halsted. Long story short, that couple was up to no good. Somebody finally pulled over one day and they killed the man that was trying to be a good Samaritan. I'm not big on that. The best I can do for you is call 311 and say, hey, there's a car with a stranded couple here on 95th and Wentworth. I just saw him. And then I'm going to hang up from 311 and I'm going to pray for you that you're safe. Because with all of the different everybody got a cell phone. They could call somebody. They don't need you. They can call somebody. So that one is a no-brainer to keep yourself safe. The accident, and then the carjacker attacks the victim as they get in the car in parking garages, shopping malls, complex parking, and driveways. We one of the suggestions when I started the thread the other day, in these neighborhoods, I have, like me, I don't park in the garage. I do the remote start out here where I'm at. I do the remote start, but it turns my lights on. I'm not out there, but my car's warming up. You guys have to assess if you're in a neighborhood that's safe enough where you can do that. Because if guys are riding around looking to jack somebody, they know you're getting ready to come out and get in that car. If you're married or you have a significant other or you have children, turn all them lights on and let somebody watch you to your car. You know, I said to in the thread that I created, what criminals hate the most is activities during the commission of their crime that they can't control. And what is that? That's noise, that's lights, that's yelling, screaming. They don't want to draw any attention to what they're doing. And so if you're going to make the decision that you're going to auto start your car, then when you get ready to walk out of the house, somebody should turn the lights on, stand on the porch and watch you walk to the car, or you should let off your what I said, cut your car off and then turn on your on these key fobs. We all got that emergency button. Hit that emergency button, wake somebody up. You know, when you park in these parking garages or when you park in these parking lots like Walmart and such, you can actually ask them to have somebody walk you to your car. People don't know that, but you can. I've worked enough security jobs. You young ladies and older gentlemen, you can actually ask, can I have an associate walk me to my car? That's at Jewel's, Walmart, Target. You can ask for that all day and they're going to do it. You don't have to walk to these cars by yourself. It's dark by 4:30. And even if you're trying to stop somewhere after work and run in and grab something for dinner and come back out, you can absolutely ask one of the associates if someone can walk you to your vehicle. Park in the front of the parking lot, even if it takes a minute to find a front spot. Don't find yourself in the rear of the parking lot. They were taking cars in Orland Park at the mall, but most of those cars, my frat brother said that they were parked in the back of the lot. So they were where people don't like to park because people park back there like me because I don't want nobody bumping into my doors and damaging my car. But you make yourself less safe by doing stuff like that. So you got to park closer to the front doors. No matter where you go, when you get ready to walk to your car, hit that emergency alert. Let the whole world know that you're walking towards your car because they don't want to be bothered with that. That's too much. Because now you're drawing attention to yourself. That's exactly what you want to do. You don't want to be invisible. You want to be very visible. Some of you all have the cars where the lights blink and the horn sounds. They don't want to be bothered with that. They don't. They'll go right past that. Even if they were getting ready to get you, they don't want to be bothered with that because you're drawing too much attention, especially when there are other people walking to their cars too. So I think that's a fantastic idea. So those
Chuck,
are some of the things.
I have another question um, that says, as senior citizens, is it a good idea to do your shopping or get gas during the day? Is there an optimal time that you are more protected?
I know I heard today on the news that some gas stations were hiring security guards between the hours of 6 and 8 so the people can get gas and feel safer. Um, that was an option.
Yeah, see, I'm going to say that is probably neighborhood specific, right? Because the guy who got his car taken downtown a couple of days ago, that was 6:30 in the morning, you know.
Yeah.
The Torrance incident happened at like 5:30 in the evening. I know that the elderly and retired like to get out morning or mid-morning. I am personally a fan of mid-morning in that 9 and 11 range, between 9 and 11. Not first thing in the morning, not late afternoon, but like around 9, 11. But even with that being said, don't be predictable. Don't go to
Right.
the same place every day to eat breakfast. Don't go to your local barbershop the same day every week. Don't, and constantly be mindful of your surroundings. There are so many things that we can get done on the internet now that we don't have to go to the currency exchanges and all of the ATMs and all of those things. And when we do that, especially when we need to do that by ourselves, we're back in tier one of the pandemic. So a lot of these bank branches and stuff are going to be open. I think there's levels of vulnerability with using the ATM through the drive-through. It's more convenient, but you're more vulnerable. I think it makes more sense to get out and just go into the lobby, actually go into the bank. And then when you come out, hit that key fob and make that noise and have all that noise going until you get in your car and you can get out of there. And when you get in your car, and I tell my wife this all the time, you get in, you go. You don't hang around, you don't linger, you don't catch up on Facebook. When you get in your car, you're pulling out and you're leaving. That's in a parking garage, that's in front of your house. And it's shameful as all this is to say. We're all taxpayers here. We should be able to come and go at our leisure, but the society just won't allow it. And so you don't have that luxury of spending 5 or 10 minutes after you done packed all your groceries into the car. Now you want to sit and just take a deep breath before you pull off. No, when you get in, you're pulling off. You're out of there. And again, your head's on a swivel. Keep your phone. I tell people all the time, put your phone in the headrest in the middle, just to because I'm real big on just grabbing my phone. Whatever technique you have to employ to make sure that you are keeping your head in front of you is 12, to the right of you is 3, behind you is 6, to the left of you is 9. Think of it as a clock. You want your head looking at 9, 12, 3, and 6. And you want to constantly look at your surroundings. And another thing is part and parcel. Know where you are. What time do you pick up your cleaning? Do you pick up your cleaning when everybody pick it up? Or are you going to randomly go because you don't like waiting in line? Like I say, this is a crime of convenience. They want to get in and out. These carjackings are taking less than 15 seconds because they jumping out, they catching you, you're getting away from your car and they pulling right off. They jumping in your car and they pulling right off. My vehicle requires the key. I have an electronic key in my vehicle. So if they get my car, they're going to ask for, if they know, because I don't know how much these guys know, but some of them are pretty sophisticated. They know they need my key fob. So I don't have my home keys on my key fob. Because if I'm going to give you my keys, if I'm going to give up my fob to my truck, I don't want you to have the keys to my house, if that makes any sense. So I would also encourage everyone, do not have your car key and your house key on the same ring. Think of that car as something think of it as a rental that is expendable. Give it to them. Don't fight for a car. Don't fight for a car. And so all of those things are approaches and tactics and things that are tried and true. People solicit money for the things that I'm telling you, and this is absolutely free. And this is what I believe in. And this is what 26 years of law enforcement has taught me. And I actually talk to offenders. I talk to them about burglaries. I talk to them about carjackings, about robberies, and, trying to understand from a social perspective, what makes me a target? What makes me a target? When did you decide that I was the person that you were going to try today? And again, most of it is because we victimize ourselves somewhat because we're not aware. Our lack of awareness makes us vulnerable. And so if you have no other takeaways tonight, limit your level of vulnerability. That's my thesis for the night. Limit your levels of vulnerability. You have to educate yourself. Chicago has a heat map of all the carjackings, and it's broken up by neighborhood. If I stayed in West Town, or if I stayed in Edgewood or Lincoln Park or near North or Roscoe Village or Wrigleyville, any of those areas, I would want to pull up that heat map and I would want to see how many carjackings have taken place this year. And then I want to click and see when are they happening, where are they happening. Then my next call, you should be to your alderman's office. And you should be asking your alderman, what's the strategy? What are you being told by the district commander? what is it that they're trying to do to mitigate these carjackings happening in our specific area? Because all of these are plausible questions, and the alderman should have answers for you because they work for you. And so that's my thesis as it relates to being safe.
Chuck, we had a question in the chat that said, with your cars, do tints, if you're tinting your windows, does that make a difference? They said they heard that carjackers are less likely to strike due to uncertainty of who's in the car if you have tinted windows. Does that make a
Because
difference?
yeah, because what we're finding is that they don't know. Hold on one sec. They don't know who's in the car. And again, so that makes perfect sense to me. If it's a crime out of convenience, they don't know who's in the car. You're not convenient, especially at night, or especially depending on the level of tint that you have in the car. So the limo tint in the front windows is illegal. You can get a ticket for it. So I'm not advocating that you do that, but that is a strategy. Honestly, my windows are not tinted. I probably wouldn't tint my windows, but I do understand why some people would, because they can't see you if those windows are tinted, and they don't know how many occupants are in that vehicle, and that makes you less of a target. So it depending on where you're living, it may be a quality strategy.
Perfect. Okay, we are going to move. We talked about how to stay safe in your vehicle, how to stay safe when driving your vehicle, parking, getting out of your vehicle. Can you talk? We talk a lot about being on the street, but there are carjackings that are happening in people's garages.
So one of the reasons why that's happening is we're warming up these vehicles, right? So you have a alley facing garage. You get in your car in the morning, you letting it run for 5 minutes or so. You got the doors up because you can't risk getting gas poison with carbon monoxide. And these guys are perusing the alleys, you know. And what I would be interested in if I was living in the city, um, what areas are the carjackings in the alley taken? Because now you can kind of mold this down to the mode of opportunity, to the MO. Some of these type of carjackings are probably community specific, neighborhood specific, because of the demographic of people. Like on the north side, they stole that guy's Range Rover. I can't remember if that was Streeterville, if that was Lincoln Park, but they know that there are higher end vehicles there. They know there are a ton of soccer moms up there where they don't work, but they're well to do. And so they could be leaving out of those garage alleys at any time. And those guys stole that lady's, I think she had like an X6 BMW. I saw that on the news a few weeks back. So when you start looking at the types of carjackings, I think that's when it'll do you guys well to look at that heat map of the city to see how many you've had in your area, and then work within the alderman's office to get the specifics of each type of those cases. All of this stuff is public record. You can delve into all of it. None of this stuff is private or secret unless there's some type of secret indictment, and most of these indictments will not be secret because they're not federal indictments. So all of this stuff is public record. You can find out about each and every carjacking in your area. There's another app, and I mentioned it. It's called Citizen. Download the Citizen app to your mobile device and to your iPad, and spend some time perusing that app, because that app's going to tell you about murders and armed robberies. It's going to tell you about any type of sexual assaults or anything that's happening in your area. If you have Ring, I would encourage you all to use that Ring network. I hear a lot of people at my job talking about Ring and how you can share videos of the different things that are happening in the neighborhood. That's another tool. I would also encourage the neighborhood, especially with these block clubs, to start working together. And I had a coworker today tell me that his block club, and he's in Ashburn, but what his block club has done, the president knows what time most people are coming home from work and what time they're leaving out for work. And so people are actually stepping out to watch you get in your car. And people are actually stepping out to watch you come into the house. This is the type of out of the box thinking that we need as citizens to become safe. We cannot live in a vacuum. We have got to be just as concerned for our neighbor as we are for ourselves. It sounds extremely unorthodox, but I'm telling you it's effective, because sure as we're on this Zoom talking about these carjackings, I can assure you that inmates in jail will say, man, don't go over there, man, on 79th and Troy, because, man, them dudes step out on the porch. They watch people go. They talk about it just like we do. We talk about staying safe, and they talk about where the easiest prey is. And so when you look at these things, and not just carjackings, but crime in general, you got to start thinking out of the box. You got to get in front of the danger that's out there for us all. And the way we do that is with out of the box thinking, unorthodox tactics, and staying vigilant and safe.
Let's kind of pivot and talk worst case scenario. What happens if you are actually carjacked?
So they got you. They got the guns drawn down on you. Keep your hands where they can see them. Follow all of their instructions. Just give it to them. Don't keep them waiting. Don't think about what you think you might be able to do. Don't think if I got time to get to my gun. If he looking around, he's getting antsy. That's a bad place for you to be. Give him what he wants. Let him go. Let him go. If they got you guys, they got you. Honestly. We go to a party on Thursday called at the President's Lounge. And normally I used to get there kind of late. So I'm always parked close to the Cottage Grove. Danny know where I'm talking about.
I do.
When I leave at night, I literally walk down the middle of 75th Street like I'm Shaft. And I start my car as I'm walking towards it. It's so dark on those couple of blocks, and there are tons of bushes there. I'm not walking upside those bushes so you can just pull me in the bushes. If you're going to get me, you're going to get me right out in the street. So if a carjacker is going to jack you while your car is already started and he pulls up on you at a red light, that's one thing. If he's going to get you as you're getting towards your car, that's another. But no matter how it happens, if he got you, he got you. Give that car up. But use these tactics that I'm talking about to just try to mitigate. I usually turn my security thing on and I walk down the middle of the street and I let that thing blink like crazy until I get up on it. And I got a gun on me, but I just know that I don't want to get into a shootout about a vehicle. If I get into a shootout, it's because you're robbing me and I think you're going to try to kill me and I'm going to make her go for it. But it's about self-protection. And so that's one of the things that I don't really talk about on social media, because I think everybody has to make their own decision about what they're willing to do and how far they're willing to go. But for me, property is not why I carry a gun. That's not what I was trained for. I was trained to keep myself from getting killed or people that I'm with from getting killed, and to protect the public from getting killed. Not to save a vehicle, because I'm not trying to save a vehicle. Those are replaceable. That's State Farm's problem. If I get carjacked, that's State Farm's problem. But I'm going to give up the car as soon as I realize they got me. Whoa, hey man, here you go. I don't want no problem. Please just don't hurt me. I don't want no problem. They probably going to tell you to step back, because they don't want you up on them because they think you're going to reach for that gun. So they don't want you up on them. They're going to tell you to step back. Follow all the instructions. You might ask them, can I get my phone? Sometimes they give you the phone. They say, yeah, take your phone. Sometimes they won't. It depends on what they feel like they finna do with your car. Some of these guys are literally carjacking people in Chicago just to drive the car out to Harvey and just leave it because they needed to get home. I mean, this is just how primal this has become. So some of these guys are not really looking to be in a gunfight, but they will fire because they got a gun. They're not gonna carjack you with a bat. They're not. They're not, and they're getting violent. And that tells me that they were meeting some resistance. That tells me, and I don't know the case of the elderly man, and I hope that's not the case, but the fact that they got physical with him tells me that he may have resisted a little bit. Don't resist. Let it go. Again, take everything out of your car that bears your name, your address, because
Does that include your registration and insurance, like the stuff we're told to keep in our glove compartments?
I would keep my registration in my wallet, and it depends how many people are driving your vehicle. See, that's the problem. And then the other part of that is, would I rather have a ticket for not having my registration? Yeah, because I can get that thrown out. But what I can't get thrown out is people who carjack my car and now they know where I live at. You got to weigh one thing against the other. Honestly, I don't have my checkbook in my car anymore, and I do still have my registration, but I probably need to pull that out because I'm not worried about the ticket for not being able to prove the registration. You know why? Because CPD going to have a copy of my license and they're going to know my registration because everybody's name now is on your license plate number is on your sticker now. So when he runs your sticker, he know that your registration is good because that's all the registration is, that you're up to date on your sticker and that you own the vehicle.
That's good information. One more question. It says, are they concerned with manual transmissions? Would that cause problems for the driver?
I'm sure. I don't know how to drive a stick shift. How many of these knuckleheads know how to drive a stick shift? I don't know. But what I will say to you is that how do they know you got a stick shift? Because there are cars that come manual and stick, and then the question becomes so like I'm gonna pick on the BMW, the X5, X6. It's both, right? So you could be manual or you can be regular transmission. When you're driving by yourself, do you want to be in a manual transmission? So maybe you in first gear, so that it in neutral, when he jack you, he don't know how to put your car in first so he can pull off. Yeah, that's a good idea. But where are you going to be while he trying to figure out how to pull off? Because he got your car now. So where are you going? You finna stand there because you think he finna jump right back out? He gonna be frustrated. Because once you get out of that car and he gets in, remember that lead car gonna take off. He had the gun. He jumped in your car. The lead car done took off. So now you got him in a manual transmission and he got to get away because he's supposed to be able to just put it in drive and pull right off. Where are you while all of this is taking place? How fast are you running away from that car?
Isn't that how the one guy got shot in the back because the guy jumped in the car, realized it was manual, and while he was calling the police, the guy got frustrated, jumped out the car, and shot him in the back.
I could see that. That's the scenario I was trying to paint. Honestly.
Hello, am I on here?
Yes.
Oh, hey, this is Erica. So that was my question. So in regards to the manual with the stick shift, it's like if something were to happen, and let's just say I'm out and I'm driving, they have no idea what type of car I have. He hops out, hops into my car, realizes what he's working with. He's unable to drive it. Then my fear is I'm just standing there. I don't have any guns, no protection. It's just, but I'm like, I'm handing over my car, I'm handing over my phone, whatever it is that he wants, but still,
I would personally be yelling to him, hey, this is a stick shift with my hands up. But I would be telling him before his lead car pulls off. I would be telling him, this is a stick shift. I got a stick shift. You can have it, but I got a stick shift. Because you don't want to get frustrated. You don't want to get frustrated. Yeah, so I do like the idea of the manual transmission. My only concern is what happens when
Because I've been driving my guy's car and it's a stick shift.
Mm-hmm.
And so my fear is while I'm moving around in it, if something happens, like I stop driving it because my fear is if somebody hops out on me, I don't want to be sitting there like a sitting duck, you know, like I said, I'm not carrying anything. So I'm just, you know, I'm just kind of like, you know, it's kind of like it's scary because it's like I don't want to be dealing with the person. I would rather for them to just be able to go hop in the car and go.
Absolutely.
You know,
because when I give you my keys, when I step out and give you my keys, I'm running the opposite way of you. I'm out. I'm not watching you pull off. I'm gone. And that's what I would tell you. This is a forcible felony in progress. I'm giving you my keys and I'm going the opposite way of where you drive. And if you pull off, that's on you because I'm running like the Dickens and I'm screaming and I'm running. The concept of whether or not it's a manual or whatever, it's all predicated on the level of who the offender is. Because if you watch those videos, once the lead car knows that their buddy got the car, they pull off. They don't even watch the guy pull off. They don't watch him pull off. They see the victim out of the car. They see their buddy get in the car and close that door. They pull right off. So that lead car is gone. Now you there with this stick shift, and he's struggling because he can't get it in first gear. He's looking for drive when it needs to be in first gear. But you should never even see all that. You should already be a block away.
Because I heard about the guy that got shot. Like the doctor was mentioning, was shot and killed when he realized that he wasn't able to drive the car.
Yeah, it happens.
So that goes back to one of those practical. If you are a carjacker, give him the keys and go.
Oh yeah, I'm out the door. I'm like, I'm running, but I'm just like, I don't want him to run up after me.
There as possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
You want to go the entirely opposite of where if your car facing northbound, you want to go southbound.
South, yeah.
Yelling and screaming. Draw attention to yourself. If you get jacked at a red light, you should be running to the nearest car, beating on their hood. Draw some attention to yourself. Don't run away and be secluded, but you want to get away from where the crime was just committed because you got to make yourself safe. And any police agency is going to tell you, or they're going to tell you a lot of the same things that I told you tonight. It's about you coming out safely. It's about you coming out safely. You know, I had a class that I did through my fraternity where I talked to young men about having encounters with the police. And some of the guys in my fraternity didn't really like the class because it wasn't that I was telling them that I wasn't saying that the police could do whatever they want because they can't. But what I said to the young men is, this is about you coming out of this encounter with your life. If the police did something that they were not supposed to do, you always have a remedy. You have legal means to hold them accountable. But at the point that you're involved in that incident, your mindset should be to get out of it with your life. It's not about your rights and all of that stuff. It's about getting out of it with your life. Then we circle back and we hold them accountable because your rights were violated. We don't talk about your rights when you got that white cop with his gun drawn down on you. Do what the man's saying do. Then you take action on the back end. I am a proponent of making yourself safe first and foremost. You can get another car. You can hold that policeman accountable and get him fired. What you can't get is another life. And so that's the most important thing. And I preach that and I believe in that. I believe in self-preservation. I believe in making yourself safe in these scenarios. I believe that if they got you, they got you. What I also believe in is if the guy pulls around in front of you and the dude jump out and all he got is a bat, I'm running his ass over. I'm just being honest. You can't jack me with a bat. Not when my car's still in drive and I'm still behind the wheel. You in trouble. But if you jump out and you got a gun, I'm gonna put that car in gear and you can have it. I'm gonna jump out. I'm gonna say, man, you got it. The key's in there, and I'm gone. Take your house keys off of your key fob. Separate the two. So just do a quick recap because we coming up on time or we over time, but this stuff is so important, guys. So just a quick recap. This is about crimes of opportunity, crimes of convenience. They want to be in and out within 15 seconds. You want to do everything you can to be safe. You want to draw attention to yourself when you're walking towards your car, when you're getting in your car. You want to change up your pattern. You want to remove anything and everything that has your address out of your car. You want to separate your key fob from your regular house keys. If they get you, you want to give them your car, whether you got concealed carry or not. When they pulling off, I don't want you shooting at them. Illinois is not a really good state of, let's just say, I'm gonna run this scenario through to you. So a guy carjacks you, he committed a forcible felony, and he's pulling off. He's driving away. You shoot at the car, you shoot him in the back of the head. He dead. Now, the state's attorney gets to decide whether or not they're going to charge you with reckless homicide because they're going to say that the threat didn't exist anymore. So if the guy was walking up on you and you shot him, you were fine. If the guy jumped in on the passenger side while you was on the driver's side and you shot him, you were fine. But when you no longer were in great danger, they're going to say that you're not authorized to shoot. And so that's another reason why I say owning a gun responsibly. Know what the law is, because they're going to hold you accountable for pulling that trigger, and you are responsible for every single bullet that come out of that gun. So if you shoot at a car that's driving away and you shoot somebody at the Taco Bell down a block down the street and that's your bullet, you're going to be held accountable for that bullet. Every bullet that come out your gun is yours. So you got to be thinking, is this worth it? Let them have that car. Give it to them. What you don't want to give them is your life.
Regina, did you have any final thoughts, or do we have any more questions? Please put them in the chat. If you do, we're going to try and wrap this up.
No, that was a lot of good information that Larry had given. I appreciate your knowledge and just sharing it with us all.
And we will be posting some links, particularly that check reference to the Citizen app and things that we discussed here. We'll post it in the event page for everybody as well as this replay of this particular conversation will be in the group as well. So you guys will be able to look at it again if you need to. But I want to thank you, Dr. Regina Beeman. Thank you, Larry. So I keep saying Larry, so weird. Chuck. Thanks, Chuck, for sharing so much helpful and practical information that we can all use. So the whole idea is just to keep us safe. But I hope we all go back to our individual communities and try to collectively come up with something to keep our community safe, because I think this is the time where we are gonna have to come together and
Absolutely.
combat this issue.
Absolutely. And I just want to take a moment to thank Danielle Sanders, because she jumped in. I brought this to her just as an idea out of nowhere, and she jumped in with both feet. She put together the PowerPoint presentation. She moderated this thing beautifully. I mean, it was good flow to it, and I could not have done this without Danny, so I really appreciate her. I really hope you guys had a strong takeaway, and I'm looking forward to any feedback. Please post it in the event section on Facebook. Anything that we can do to make some of these future ones better, because I'm looking to continue the discussion, maybe not on carjacking, but on a lot of the things that, that we I want to give a platform for people to speak freely about things that are bothering them. You know, today I had Whoopi wearing wearing the garb of a master mason. I got a problem with that, but that's not for this. That's not for here.
You're right.
But,
It's another discussion.
but honestly, I do believe that there's some healing that goes forward just through conversation and intelligent dialogue. And that's the platform that I want to put on. So as Danny and me try to figure out our next topic and when we're going to do it and kind of go back and do a reset and regroup and look over what we did tonight, I just want to thank everybody for participating. And I truly, truly hope you guys got something out of this. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you guys real soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. God bless.